Oh my God! Prepare yourself for the latest drama that has the internet in a frenzy if you thought that Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin's relationship was all love and hip-hop. Rumor has it that Jones was caught up in a shocking public fight with Baby and Chrissy Lampkin. Witnesses reported that the situation swiftly escalated from 0 to 100. Let's also just state that Jim is barely maintaining his reputation. It started out as what seemed to be a simple argument, but things went south. According to sources, Jim lost all control of the situation. Oh my God, what happened next is worse than you could have ever guessed. Chrissy couldn't believe it. Social media is in full meltdown mode as individuals desire, and the crowd was in shock. Answers: did Jim Jones actually do this? This time, go too far? What caused him to respond so dramatically? And above all, who was the mysterious character at the center of all this drama? There are disagreements among fans. Celebrities are voicing their opinions. Additionally, be aware that Jim's career could be destroyed by the facts that insiders are disclosing. Grab some popcorn because this scandal is only beginning. Alright, buckle up because if you thought Jim Jones and oh honey, you haven't seen anything yet. Chrissy Lampkin's relationship, however, was a nightmare. Previously, even hip-hop and love producers are scrambling to figure out how they will cover this current scandal because it is so insane. Therefore, let's travel back in time and figure out how we arrived at this point since the details are intricate. Last Saturday night, it all started at a private party. People were shocked when Jones and Chrissy Lampkin showed up together, smiling and holding hands. Since Jim and Chrissy's relationship hasn't always been simple, let's face it, they were engaged for a period of years before taking a break. Jim has participated in financial difficulties, infidelity rumors, and some questionable business dealings. However, witnesses claim that when things started, Chrissy and Jim were seated in the VIP section of a posh club in New York City. However, this time, my dear, perhaps Chrissy had had enough. Evidently, Jim had been drinking a little too much, which isn't unusual for him, but this time it had a different effect on him. A person inside the club claims that Jim stayed up all night. He appeared unhappy and was acting weirdly, pacing back and forth. Chrissy continually attempted to soothe him, but he refused, and BM ensued. According to reports, Jim got upset when Chrissy leaned over to inquire about the nature of the text message. Witnesses said that he snatched his phone away from Chrissy and started shouting at her. I tried to keep my cool since, as you know, Chrissy doesn't want to cause a fuss, but Jim wouldn't let it go. A second person nearby claims that Chrissy went on to add, "Calm down." He started pointing at her. "Jim, I'm not here," but Jim was hot. And as he spoke louder, others around them started to realize that even though the music really got out of control when they noticed that people were turning there as they drew closer to the VIP area while the music was still playing. One witness claims that Jim stood up, walked straight into Chrissy's face, and seemed to be about to grab her before pushing him away and warning him not to do so. Jim did it though. Oh, sweetheart, Chrissy reportedly jerked away from Jim when he tried to get her out of the booth by grabbing her arm. A mysterious man who was close to the two went in to separate them when he yelled, "Let go of me and y'all." The club stopped. This unidentified individual has reportedly been Jim's close friend for years, but it almost felt like he was trying to protect Chrissy more than Jim by getting involved. The incident was described by a witness. "Calm down, Jim," Jim said, pushing him back. "You're overdoing it." Chrissy was shaking at this point, so security had to step in. Her face was red, and it was clear that she was reserving weeping. One report claims that Chrissy, as security dragged the mystery man out of the club, stayed there looking scared after Jim gave him a final shove and yelled, "You don't know what the F** you're talking about." Chrissy placed her head in her hands and sat down. She was approached by others who wanted to know how she was feeling, but she just sat there without saying anything. The situation becomes much more chaotic at this point. People with knowledge of the matter said that Jim was extremely irate because his phone was overflowing with texts from an unnamed woman. Chrissy had suspected Jim of having affairs with for months. It's true that Jim has been accused of infidelity for years, but Chrissy has always stood by Jim. Chrissy disregarded claims that Jim was out in Miami with an unidentified woman, but this time she witnessed the evidence herself, a person close to Chrissy claims. Jim lost it because he was receiving texts on his phone. He reacted angrily rather than admitting that he had been captured. Believe me, social media jumped on this right away. Video of the altercation had already started to circulate online by the time Jim and Chrissy had left the club. Someone inside the club shot a video of the entire thing and uploaded it on TikTok with the caption, "Jim Jones, we out on Chrissy in the club. This man is finished." And the remarks were pretty harsh. Now is the time for Chrissy to leave him. Now Jim is out here again making Chrissy look stupid. Take note of this point. Chrissy is acting like herself if she stays by his side. The most ridiculous aspect is that Jim and Chrissy have made no mention of the occurrence. Jim's Instagram is silent, and Chrissy's tales are empty. But you know that words are not as powerful as silence. This is where things become even more intriguing, though, because the man who supported Chrissy may not just be a friend. Sources claim that has been together with Chrissy for a while. Let's also assume that some people are starting to wonder if Chrissy has already moved on. A person close to the couple said that Chrissy and Jim had been dating Rocky for several months. Chrissy has been relying on Jim for emotional support, and Jim knows it. Furthermore, the fact that he responded in such a public manner indicates that he fears Chrissy may not be with him for very long. What comes next is now the true problem. Chrissy isn't giving up this time, according to what I've been told. A person close to her claims that she is worn out with everything I've had to do. Jim is enough. This could be the tipping point. Jim is in damage control mode too. He has reportedly already gotten in touch with some of his industry contacts to try to conceal the truth, but there is no going back from this one because the AG video is already out. The entire romantic world will be rocked by the ramifications from this affair, I swear. And the world of hip-hop, since believe me, Jim might lose everything if Chrissy decides to leave permanently and the rumors about this enigmatic man turn out to be true. Not simply because of what's going to happen next, but because of his relationship. If you thought part 1 was messy, honey, you're just getting started because of the disastrous aftermath from Jim Jones. It's far worse than we thought, my goodness. Admirers are using the internet to take sides. Additionally, based on Chrissy's recent actions, it seems possible that Jim simply mishandled the woman and the suitcase. Where did we end up then? Jim tried to yank Chrissy out of the booth in front of a packed room, and security was hauling him out of the club. Oh, she sat there feeling humiliated, trembling, and ashamed. Let's talk about what happened next though, since that's when the true drama starts, honey. Let's take a look at what we now know. According to people close to the couple, I mean close ones, have confirmed that Jim's outburst was caused by those texts, not just Chrissy's reply. For months, Jim had been messaging an unnamed woman. As stated by an extremely trustworthy, this isn't just a casual side chick thing, insider. Our conversations, communications, and open emotional infidelity are flirty and intimate, a source claims that Chrissy had long suspected, even though Jim denied it repeatedly. But when the texts showed up on his phone, Chrissy saw them. Late at night, we're texting each other things like, "I miss you. When will you be coming to see me?" And "Excuse me, I don't have to know." However, she was witnessing the unpleasantness of the message's content firsthand. Yes, exactly. This will develop into a complete industry. Insiders claim that this mysterious woman is not just any chick. She is presumably tied to someone else in the industry controversy. Even worse, Chrissy had no intention of talking about it. It appears like she was trying to settle the issue behind closed doors. However, Jim's answer was what shattered the entire situation. Something open. According to an individual close to Chrissy, she first remained calm and tried to project an adult persona. However, as Jim started to rant and act, Chrissy came to the illogical conclusion that he was at fault. Furthermore, it finds out that Jim has already been connected to accusations of cheating. You might remember Jim's appearance in Miami in 2019, utilizing the Instagram model. Additionally, Chrissy effectively told everyone to stop talking when the video became popular on social media, adding, "This time she's not playing that game." As soon as the video appeared on websites and Chrissy heard the nasty comments, she decided to break up with him permanently. By that time, Twitter was already buzzing with hashtags like #DefendChrissy and #JimJonesExposed. Jim is Christy. You ought to value him for what he is. Yes, the celebrities began to weigh in on Cardi B's jumps. It is shameful that you treat the woman who restrained you in this manner. Tamar Braxton remarked, "Chrissy is better than me because I would have handled that scenario very differently." Man, she commented on Twitter, some of you really Remy Ma, who stays away from issues like this, liked a tweet that said that Chrissy deserves better and that Jim has been acting strangely for years. Don't deserve the women you got. However, the remarks kept flooding in. Because social media investigators never sleep, fans immediately started investigating Jim's social media activity. Jim hasn't exactly been acting, to put it mildly. For instance, Jim was seen loving and commenting on a specific woman's photos in a screenshot of a loyal man. The same woman who was alleged to have sent those communications, you guessed it. And what more did they find? As if he wasn't already engaged, Jim flirted with her in a recent direct message exchange, using hard eye emoticons and calling her attractive, according to screenshots shared by one admirer. I noted that Jim had been moving haphazardly. He had just been caught by Chrissy. Jim, oh honey, isn't doing himself any favors by jumping on rather than remaining silent and allowing the heat to pass. Jim, we're not sure. I apologize for sharing this cryptic Instagram message, but the real surprise came when the man who broke up the brawl spoke. Remember how we talked about the man who stood between Jim and Chrissy? He ends up to know a lot more than he says, though, because according to sources, the unnamed individual has been near to what he has been seeing. Jim's years-long behind-the-scenes care of Chrissy. And based on what I've heard, he's fed up. An informant claims that the unknown man has been warning Chrissy about Jim. Chrissy wasn't ready to hear it, even though she had been telling her for years that he wasn't the right man for her. Now, it seems that he might be acting in multiple capacities because after the incident, one person close to the Chrissy, "You don't deserve this. You deserve better." Chrissy's expression after hearing this was, "Oh, honey, there's definitely something there." Given the situation, Chrissy doesn't usually change partners quickly, but there seems to be a bond between her and this individual, and rumors have it that Jim isn't pleased about it. Following the re-encounter, he went up to the enigmatic man, and things heated up. An insider claims that when he said, "That's my wife," Jim told him to back off. The mystery man said, "Then act like I've heard that Chrissy is finally starting to pay attention to those around her." Therefore, the question is it possible that this unnamed man filled in for Jim when he was acting out? She needed a wake-up call. Jim is also on a downward trajectory. In New York, he has been seen drinking while appearing disheveled and depressed. Additionally, he has been calling Chrissy is always trying to apologize, but she isn't responding, honey. And if I'm not mistaken, the most outrageous allegation circulating is that Chrissy has already been talking to her lawyer and child. Jim may lose both Chrissy and his money if she departs because her name is on some of his company contracts, including the real estate on which they reside. Jim might be without a place to proceed, my dear. The problem is that Chrissy hasn't yet made a statement. She could say more, but her silence on social media speaks more. But the fact that she is already talking to her lawyer suggests that Jim's situation is not good and that if Chrissy files a lawsuit, the consequences will only get worse. Additionally, if the nameless woman comes forward, Jim's reputation and career might be irreparably damaged. You're not ready for what's about to happen, I assure you. Thus, pay close attention, since if you believe that Part 2 was Part 3, baby is about to go nuclear, so wait until you hear what happened next. The consequences of Jim Jones' outburst are getting out of hand, unmanageable, and the harm is more severe than anyone could have predicted. Jim's relationship, career, and reputation are all in danger of collapsing. And Chrissy is acting so adorable right now. Where did we end up? After getting exposed for those dubious texts and that altercation in public, Jim was in a downward spiral. Suppose Jim pushed her too far at some point. Previously, the enigmatic figure had stepped in to protect Jim and Chrissy. He didn't take it well when she was in the club, though. It's messier than you may imagine, so let's talk about what happened next. Jim wasn't just going to leave the club, apparently. Calmly following that incident, he was angry. Oh no. According to rumors, Jim left the club immediately after the bar and went straight to a motel nearby. But he wasn't alone, because Jim had gone with someone other than Chrissy, according to a trustworthy insider. According to many reports, Jim exited the club with a woman who looked precisely the same, so let's just say they weren't exactly trying to excuse me. He had been texting a female. Although I'm not saying this, a source claims that the receipts are growing, even though Chrissy wasn't even out when Jim left with the enigmatic woman in hand. Acquainted with the situation, Jim was already on his way out of the club. But you know what? It had been filmed by someone. Images of Jim and this unnamed woman leaving the hotel were all over the place by the next morning. On social media, one admirer posted a photo along with the caption, "Jim couldn't even wait a day before making Chrissy look foolish once more." Everyone had a story and remarks once the Hollywood shade room was unlocked. "They were awful, honey. Jim has been making fun of Chrissy. Chrissy is worthy of more. And Jim is no longer even trying to hide it. How can you be dishonest and then have the gall to be apprehended? They got worse just when you thought they couldn't, because guess what?" The enigmatic woman appeared quite nonchalant as she went live on Instagram while sipping a glass of wine. She grinned and said, "You guys need to mind. Excuse me, but you're telling me that this woman knows Jim was out here insulting Chrissy, and she's in response to remarks asking whether she was the last guy remaining. Jim and his conceit are the source of the amusement. Your business. I'm not the one who took vows. That's his problem." Oh, instead of taking it down or apologizing, he made it worse by sharing a photo of himself on Instagram the next day along with the caption, "This is what it is. I think Chrissy saw my phone." She posted an enigmatic comment on her Instagram story a few hours after I almost threw it across the room, saying, "When someone reveals their identity to you, so trust them the first time." However, it didn't stop there, because Jim was not going to get away with using this source, according to the mysterious man. Chrissy claimed that the unknown man called her after Jim's minor deed and reassured her that she wouldn't have to deal with this any longer. Guess what Chrissy did next? It seems like she listened. She then went to meet her attorney. Yes, Chrissy was spotted outside a renowned New York attorney's office. York City. Furthermore, this isn't just any attorney. Chrissy is no longer playing games, according to one of the most ruthless divorce attorneys in the business. After years of keeping Jim down, she's finally done. And because her name is on some of Jim's most valuable assets, insiders say Chrissy is going insane and plans to take everything with her. Belongings, such as the house and endorsement contracts for the business. Additionally, Jim would lose everything if Chrissy filed for divorce. According to an insider, Chrissy helped him during his time in terrible circumstances, and she's entitled to half of whatever he's built today. Jim, who is aware that he erred, reportedly started blowing up Chrissy's phone. A source after discovering that she had a meeting with her attorney. Chrissy has refused to open the door when Jim calls and messages her often, leaves voicemails, and even shows up at her apartment. The most bizarre feature is that Jim even visited Mama Jones. Yes, Jim's mom also gave Chrissy a call. Make an effort to convince her to talk to Chrissy. One report claims that Chrissy said to her, "I love you, but I can't continue." The internet and all of these things. Oh, Chrissy is the team, honey. Jim repays Chrissy for holding him down when no one else did, and she deserves more. You should take him for granted, Chrissy, because Nicki Minaj made a comment about Chrissy's loyalty in a post, "The selfish actions of Jim." Can you guess who else entered? Ma Remy posted about her. Celebrities are speaking out, and everything is happening. Instagram narrative. A woman who has always slowed you down should not be played with. But Jim has to cope with more than just criticism directed at him. He's already suffering at work. Jim was reportedly negotiating a new reality TV contract with a major network, but the agreement was put on hold. Hold after the controversy. They don't want the blowback, a person close to the network claims. Jim's company is struggling, and it seems like one of his main issues is that his name is advertising, and Messi are already departing at the moment. According to an insider, the company is considering ending the endorsement relationships, which include a sneaker endorsement, because it does not want to be associated with this kind of incident. Contract for more than 6 figures, since Chrissy presently has all the power, the receipts, the public support, and the legal advantage. The question now is how Jim will bounce back from this. Additionally, if Jim can lose his relationship, his job, his money, and his reputation if he decides to take this all the way to court. Chrissy hasn't even said anything yet, which is the most ridiculous thing. A source close to Chrissy claims that she is currently allowing Jim to hang himself because she is aware that anything he says will just make him look worse. And Jimmo continues to behave recklessly. Jim was spotted looking drunk and untidy at another club last night. He was with that same mysterious woman, and you know who he was. Therefore, it's not a question of if Chrissy will leave him, but instead, how much Jim would be sorry if she did. When Chrissy does too. The only thing left to worry about, honey, is whether Jim Jones will make it through this fallout or if this is the beginning of his demise. As well as Chrissy, you already know that I'll return with everything, so trust me. Because, well, this story is far from over. There will be updates. Now, the question is is this the end for Jim and Chrissy after years of standing by and protecting him? Is Chrissy going to be gone forever? What will happen to Jim if such is the case? Because, let's be honest, Jim's reputation and career may not survive this one without Christy. In actuality, though, Chris isn't speaking at the moment. Her silence says more than words, honey. If Chrissy leaves and brings those lawsuits, Jim might not, she could say, merely lose his relationship. He may lose his money, his home, and his reputation in the field. And the fact that he's still acting irresponsibly while holding the unidentified woman on the fans. Oh, they've already chosen a side, are completely behind Chrissy on social media. And you know that everyone will support him. Baby gives the impression that he's trying to kill himself. Be observing in the event that she decides to sue Jim. However, what about the unidentified man? Is he just a friend or is there more to the story? The question now is, will Chrissy keep quiet and let Jim? Please provide your thoughts in the comments section. Are you in favor of Chrissy or Jim? Should Chrissy forgive him? Will she fail, or will she utilize a move of power that would defeat him forever? Is it time for her to depart Jim? And don't look back? Let me clarify your thoughts since, dear, this keep in mind that the drama is far from over. Click like and subscribe because I assure you that the upcoming chapter when this story ends, my love, you're in an attempt to be the first to learn, keep returning since this is the only starting.